Welcome to Inside Energy, a program that examines an array of issues in today's competitive energy market. Not very long ago, you really didn't have a choice when it came to electricity. When you wanted to connect service, you called the utility serving your area, they hooked you up, and then they sent you bills based on the amount of electricity you used. Periodically, that utility would ask a state regulatory body for a rate increase, and it was at that time that you could voice your opinion. But really, that was about the only option you had. Well, the world has changed dramatically. Every single one of you watching right now has a choice of who will supply your electricity. There is competition, and the aim is to provide customers with the products and services they want, and through a competitive process, give customers their best opportunity to lower their electricity costs. But most importantly, the control is much more directly in your hands. You can pick and choose, and you can change. Today we're going to talk about how this new world of electricity works. Joining me to discuss today's topic, Electricity 101, are two guests who've spent much of their lives working in the world of regulated and unregulated electricity. Maureen Helmer and Paul Afonso. Maureen has been involved in energy issues for more than 25 years. She chaired the New York Public Service Commission at the time when New York was working to bring competition to its electricity markets. Today, she continues to be involved in energy as a lawyer with Hiscock and Barclay in Albany, New York. Paul has been involved in energy issues for the past couple of decades. He served as the general counsel and chairman of the Massachusetts Public Utilities Commission during a period when Massachusetts restructured its electricity markets to permit full competition and choice in the energy sector. He continues to work in competitive markets as chairman of Brown Rudnick's Government Law and Strategies Group in Boston. Maureen and Paul, welcome to the program. On this day today, what has the restructured energy market done for consumers?
Well, aside from bringing choices and introducing these innovations, it has also, in terms of the entire, from soup to nuts, from the place that the electricity is generated to the point at which it is delivered to the customer, it has provided much more competition and therefore efficiency into the system and reliability into the system. In terms of the consumer, it's really, and Paul has said this before, it puts the power in your hands to make decisions not just about where you buy your power, but how you use your power and what kinds of tools and services you purchase for that power.
But what about further down the pipeline, or further more toward the beginning of the pipeline, the source of the electricity? Has this competition changed that rather than the utility having its set power plants?
I think it's fair to say, and we do a lot of analysis back home in terms of public opinion polls, and it is fair to say that when restructuring in the 96-97 time frame till today has had a positive effect in terms of more investment in the system, meaning more generation facilities, different companies coming into the areas. And I remember this profoundly when we all went through the 2003 blackout. We in back home, part of the reason that we were not affected and were able, very fortunate that way, we had plenty of extra capacity in the system. So we were able to manage it a lot better. So I know that was a difficult period in terms of the whole region, but we came through it in part because of the choices and the ability to manage the system back home in New England. And I think ultimately you see new investment, you see different companies, and it's economic development as well in terms of the ability of translating, which shouldn't be lost in these difficult economic times, translating different companies, different competitors. That does equal jobs on the ground here in this region as well as back home.
As a resident or as a business, walk me through the process of choosing. Right now, the hypothetical pay a utility. And I just get my bill once a month, I pay it, and boom, that's the end of it. How do I shop for an independent?
Well, I think you just named one of the key things, which is pick up your bill. And the bill that you have from your local utility has all of the information you need to shop. and you go to the website and follow the steps there, and they will tell you who the various folks are that you can call. It will give you contact information, whether it's by email or by telephone. When you call, the basic information you need, your account information, your location information, the bill shows you if there's a meter, the meter information. You'll provide that information to the folks that you talk to on the phone.
The independent supplier.
The independent suppliers, and ask a lot of basic questions, the same questions you would ask if you, say, have an oil tank and you have to buy oil. You know, obviously you're going to ask about the price. Is the price flat? Is it fixed? Does it vary? How much does it vary? How long is the term of the contract? What happens if you leave that contract early? Is there a penalty? A lot of people with cell phones find out very quickly when they terminate their contract earlier and they get that $175 bill that there may be things attached to it. So there has to be a lot of notice up front by the provider about any termination provisions. And any other questions, ask what kinds of programs are out there, what incentives are out there. There's a referral program in New York which provides a 7% reduction in your bill simply for switching for a period of time. Ask them what kinds of incentives are out there. Paul, what am I forgetting?
No, well, I think one of the things that are important on the bill is it really is user-friendly, which, you know, I think in comparison to years past was not always the case. But you can look at your consumption. You know, what did you use the month before, the previous month, which is helpful in deciding what you may or may not want to do. But it is clear, it's pretty straightforward, and if people take a few minutes of their busy day, it'll pay dividends. And again, we've done many studies in this area in terms of public opinion polling. People want to save money. Every dollar counts. So the ability to get a good deal or a better deal is well worth the effort.
What about in this day and age of trying to be more green, more environmentally friendly? How has this whole restructuring had an impact on that, or has it?
Good point, Jack. There are customers who are very interested in purchasing electricity from green sources, and there are companies that are out there that advertise specifically with respect to that. There are programs that have been set up by the states that measure to make sure that these companies really are purchasing their electricity from either renewable or clean or, you know, whatever the various programs are that are out there. And assure the customers that if someone comes to their door and says, we're going to sell you green electricity, that it really does come from green sources.
Yeah, there's a lot of integrity in the process there, and regulators, I think, have done a very nice job of making sure that we can measure that, in fact, it is a green source, be it a wind farm here in New York or in Maine, where have you. But again, it's all about choice. There are consumers, and more so, day in and day out, that green is a value. And whether it's a little more expensive or not, they intelligently will make that affirmative choice. And again, it's back to choice, the ability to do that. And that's exactly what we've found, in particularly in Massachusetts and throughout New England, that there's a core constituency, and it grows every day, that green is important to them for a variety of reasons.
I would imagine this day and age, it definitely is the case. I make the switch. I sign my name on the dotted line. The new company takes over for supply. What changes? What stays the same?
The beauty of this is that very, very little changes, in the sense that you have your utility that has the infrastructure. They keep the transmission facilities going. You get your electricity in there, and the reality is your lights stay on. You've made a different choice, and hopefully you've saved a bit of money. You've made a good relationship with a new company, and so very little will change, and that's part of the message. Very little will change. Now, if you had some opportunities in terms of some of the other service we talked about, in terms of technology, in terms of demand side response, the ability to gauge how much usage, some of those technologies will be new to you and could be something you choose depending on the company.
Okay. And then is there anything other than the bill, really, or the potential for two bills that is different?
No, it really is not, because if for whatever reason something happens to that supplier, it goes out of business, it leaves the state, what have you, you still have the ability to go back to your utility. It's an expression we refer to as provider of last resort. No matter what happens, you will have somebody to provide your electricity. So from a reliability perspective, I mean, I think we would make the argument that the overall system is more reliable, but in terms of your interface with your local utility, it's exactly the same. In terms of the options that are available, there may be some more options, there may be some more services. But in terms of your ability to get electricity when you need it, at the moment you flick on that switch, nothing has really changed.
Yeah, and the other thing I think it's important for our viewing audience to know is that the suppliers, the independents as we've called them, that are offering this, these are large, good corporate citizens. These are not small fly-by-night operators. These are very solid corporate citizens that many of them, some larger than others, granted, and some boutiques in the region, but others are national presence. Some are very heavy in the region, and these are names and corporate citizens that we've all heard of and know, and you'll see the list when you go into the PUC websites.